Okay.
What's up? They're all elsewhere. Hola, buenos días. Mi nombre es Lisa. I'm Lisa Lindsay, and I serve gratefully as past president on your board of trustees. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno in sunny Fresno, California. Welcome everyone on Alluvial Avenue. Welcome everyone joining us virtually. We are one congregation in many places. As Unitarian Universalists, we believe in the worth and dignity of all people, and that all people and all things are interconnected and interdependent, which means we have a sacred responsibility to take into consideration the best interests of all people, not just a select few. Out of this comes our Unitarian Universalist belief that we are called to protect and prioritize the most vulnerable among us, which is why we have advocated wearing masks since the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic. And this is why we continue to do so on our Alluvial Avenue campus today. As we saw more clearly this past week, the pandemic is far from over, and we must act in the best interest of the most vulnerable, which are unvaccinated children and immunocompromised adults. To Fresno and the Central Valley and beyond, we say, mask up, people, act for the greater good. Please know, you and your mask are always welcome here. You are welcome no matter your race, culture of origin, age, spiritual background, or religious beliefs. You are welcome no matter your disabilities, the amount of money in your bank account, or your level of education. You are welcome with or without documentation. No one is illegal at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno. As Unitarian Universalists, we not only open our doors to people of all sexual orientations and gender identities, we value diversity of sexuality and gender and see it as a spiritual gift. Todos son bienvenidos aquí. We acknowledge that our Alluvial Avenue Church campus sits within the traditional homelands of the Yokuts and Mono peoples, whose diverse tribal communities share stewardship over the Central Valley. Today, we returned live to both of our campuses after a month-long hiatus, which allowed our Sunday staff and volunteers to take a well-deserved break after 14 months of pandemic worship. Today, we are also cautiously debuting some of our new audio-visual live streaming equipment. We anticipate imperfection and glitches as we use our new cameras and soundboards for the first time live. We ask your patience with us as we take this exciting step. Please also take a moment to give it up for our video tech Ian and our new sound tech Nico. Please offer them your appreciation. I also want to pause to welcome Vicki back. She's been working every Sunday for over a year, and she is back here with us today, and we are so excited that she's here. And now, before our service begins, let's take a moment to greet one another at whichever sanctuary you find yourself in, be that by chat box, here in person, or in the silent sacredness of your individual heart.
Buenos dias. It is great to be back on our Alluvial campus. And it is so awesome to welcome everyone who is joining us on our virtual campus. Give it up to the virtual campus. Woo! Dear ones, there are many sounds in the universe, and some sounds take us farther and farther from our sense of balance and peace. And then there are those sacred sounds that carry us to that quiet place of knowing within us.
Now she said unto me, do you like my garden so fair? You may live in this garden if you'll keep the grasses green, and I'll return in the cool of the day. Now is the cool of the day. Now is the cool of the day. Oh, this earth is a garden, the garden of my Lord, and she walks in her garden in the cool of the day. Then my Lord, she said unto me, do you like my garden so pure? You may live in this garden if you'll keep the waters clean, and I'll return in the cool of the day. Now is the cool of the day. Now is the cool of the day. Oh, this earth is a garden, the garden of my Lord, and she walks the cool of the day. Then my Lord, she said unto me, do you like my pastures so green? You may live in this garden if you will feed my sheep, and I'll return in the cool of the day. Now is the cool of the day. Now is the cool of the day. Oh, this earth is a garden, the garden of my Lord, and she walks in her garden in the cool of the day. Then my Lord, she said unto me, do you like my garden so free? You may live in this garden if you'll keep the people free, and I'll return in the cool of the day. Now is the cool of the day. Now is the cool of the day. Oh, this earth is a garden, the garden of my Lord, and she walks in her garden in the cool of the day.
Good morning. My name is Key, and welcome to my home. I'm grateful to be able to be with you this morning to kick off our new church year with this live service on our Alluvial Avenue and virtual campuses. I'm grateful that I can be with you this morning from my home. We are truly one congregation in many places. As some of you know, I graduated high school in June, and I'm leaving Fresno to attend the College of Engineering at UCLA. So today is kind of a bit of a goodbye for now moment for us, and I'm glad that I can help Reverend Tim lead a Sunday service one last time. In a moment, we will light our chalice together, so if you have a chalice or a candle at home with you, now is a good time to bring it near. The flaming chalice is a symbol of Unitarian Universalism. It is a pre-Christian symbol and reminds us that all of the world's religions have origins in earth-based traditions and pagan traditions. All religions grew out of the great Earth Mother and from people who lived and found spiritual meanings in the cycles of the seasons. The open bowl of the chalice reminds us to open our hearts and minds to new learning and fresh spiritual insights. The flame is a tangible reminder of the light of God, the light of love, and the light of reason that guides our way forward on this shared life adventure. Reverend Tim, are you ready to light the chalice in our Alluvial Avenue campus?
Key, I am ready with the fire in this sanctuary if you're ready in our virtual one.
Our chalice lighting words are a mashup from Paul Sprecher and Catherine Callahan. We light this chalice for the web of life which sustains us, for the sacred cycle of life in which we have our being, for the earth, the sky, above and below, and for our Earth Mother and the mystery. As the chalice is lit, let us come together into the sacred space we have created. Let the cares of the day fall away and know that here is a place for reflection, for a pause in our lives, and for a breathing into our true selves. Let the warmth of the chalice connect us and carry us into the world. Let us now join our voices in our song of praise, Turn the World Around.
We come from the fire, living through the fire. Go back to the fire, turn the world around. We come from the fire, living through the fire. Go back to the water, turn the world around. We come from the mountain, living on the mountain. Go back to the mountain, turn the world around.
Whoa, so is life. Ah, so is life. Whoa, so is life. Ah, so is life.
Do you know who I am? Do you know who you are? See each other clearly, turn the world around. Do you know who I am? Do you know who you are? See each other clearly, turn the world around.
Oh, so is life. Ah, so is life. Oh, so is life. Ah, so is life.
Water make the river, river wash the mountain. Fire make the sunlight, turn the world around. Heart is of the river, body is the mountain. Spirit is the sunlight, turn the world around. We are of the Spirit, truly of the Spirit. Only can the Spirit turn the world around.
Oh, so is life. Ah, so is life. Oh, so is life. Ah, so is life. Oh, so is life. Ah, so is life. Oh, so is life. Ah, so is life.
Let's remain standing as we say together the words of our mission statement. La misión de la Iglesia Unitaria Universalista de Fresno es amar inclusivamente, crecer espiritualmente, servir con gratitud y trabajar por la justicia. The mission of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno is to love inclusively, grow spiritually, serve gratefully, and work for justice. Please be seated. Want to give a warm welcome to those who are here for first or second time, those who have come in during our song of praise. It's awesome to have you. Welcome. So glad you're here. The Vietnamese Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh says this of our breath: feelings come and go like clouds in the windy sky. Conscious breathing is my anchor. So, in that spirit, I invite us to take in a breath together, breathing in peace. We hold that breath just a moment. We breathe out love. And again, we take a breath in, breathing in peace. We hold a moment. We breathe out love. And one last time together, breathing in, centering ourselves with peace. We hold a moment and we breathe out love. As we continue breathing together, each at our own rhythm, our own pace, our own depth, I invite you to allow that breath to carry you back over the last 7 days, the last week of your living. And a question emerges. How, as you reflect on the last week, how in the last week were you part of the world's love and not its hate? as we sit in this sanctuary made sacred by our precious beating human hearts, made sacred by that mix of joys and sorrows, gratitudes and concerns that we carried with us, whether we entered here on Alluvial Ave or if we're joining on our virtual campus. We know we carry so much. And that's why we create a moment in our services where those who wish to share can share a joy, a sorrow, a gratitude, or concern. Some of us in the Alluvial campus stopped at the small table at the entranceway to the church and took a small card and wrote something down. And for those of us joining in our virtual campus, we invite you either in Facebook or YouTube to just use the chat box to share what's on your heart this morning. In the Alluvial sanctuary, Yolanda entered this place with a sorrow. Her abuela has passed into the mysteries of death, and we hold Yolanda's abuela in our thoughts and our prayers. Ted entered with a sorrow, concern about the fires and the climate crisis. Nationally, we want to pause and celebrate the life of the great civil rights leader Bob Moses, who led so many of the most significant campaigns for equity and equality in the Deep South in the 60s. Known for his vision, for his wisdom and determination, and his grassroots, community-based leadership, he survived being shot, beaten multiple times, and jailed multiple times. As many of us know, his second chapter of civil rights work was as an advocate for algebra and math literacy as essential for Black people in their struggle for equity and equality. Closer to home, we remember our beloveds, those members and friends of our congregation who are especially vulnerable, who need our thoughts, our prayers, our wishes. Glenda R., Pat M., Babs E., and we want to lift up especially today Rich B., who had an accident with his bike and is banged up pretty badly and a lot of pain. So please send healing thoughts to Rich B. We remember Robin G., Al G., and Bill N. We also remember two members of the congregation who have recently passed into the mysteries of death. First, Connie Pitt, a longtime beloved member, church leader, including a member of the Board of Trustees at one time. She sang with Lorenzo in the choir. She was part of the women's book group and a friend I know to so many of you here this morning. You might not know she was born in Canada in 1928. In the 1940s, she attended college at a time when that was not a path open for many women. In 1957, Jack and Connie came here to Fresno. Connie earned her teaching credentials and taught English as a second language to the Hmong community in Fresno. She was active in a variety of local organizations. In 1975, she became vice chair of the Fresno Commission on the Status of Women. We remember her family and her husband, Jack, and in our virtual campus, if you would like to celebrate Connie's life, just type C for Connie, and here in our Alluvial campus, you can just press C in the sacredness of your heart. We also lift up Nellie Anna Rothrock, the oldest member of our congregation who died this week at 102 years of age. This is a picture of her 2 years ago when she turned 100. Nellie Anna had great pride at living through two pandemics, the flu epidemic of 1918 and 19, and now the pandemic of 2020. She's known for her wit, her wisdom, that's born of experience and age, her personal strength, her caring heart, her intellect, her warmth, her sense of humor, her friendship. A little-known factoid: Nellie Anna was once president of the International Liberace Club. I just think that's so cool. So, Nellie Anna, we celebrate your 102 years of living on the virtual campus. Just type N if you want to celebrate Nellie Anna on the virtual campus, and we can all pretend we're pressing N for Nellie Anna here on Alluvial Ave. And so, for all that has been shared, for all that we're holding in the sacredness and the silence of our own hearts, and for all those who on this day have no one to remember them, no one to speak their name with gentleness or love, we light our candle of community. By our remembering, may we and they be blessed. We light a second candle, as is our custom. This candle now burns for the almost unfathomable number of 4.19 million people worldwide who have lost their lives in this pandemic. Our call to meditation uses ancient words that come to us from India, from the Sikh tradition. These are believed to be great words of power, and they certainly are ancient words. The pronunciation is Adgare Namah, Jagadgare Namah, Satgare Namah, Siri Guru Dev E Namah. And translated is, there is a truth or a consciousness or a love that has existed in the past. It exists here now, and it will exist long into the future. We may all call it different names, but it is real. And so I invite us to join our voices, led by Lorenzo. Adgare Namah.
Adgare Namah, Jugadgare Namah, Sadgare Namah, Kiri Guru Dev Namah, Adgare Namah, Jugadgare Namah, Sadgare Namah, Siri Guru Dev Namah, Adgare Namah, Jugadgare Namah, Sadgare Namah, Siri Guru Dev Namah.
Our words of prayer or reflection come from Shanti Deva, the influential 8th century Indian Buddhist monk. Let us pray. May we become at all times, both now and forever, a protector of those without protection, a guide for those who have lost their way, a ship for those with oceans to cross, a bridge for those with rivers to cross, a sanctuary for those in danger, a lamp for those without light, a place of refuge for those who lack shelter, and a servant to all in need. For as long as space endures and for as long as living beings remain, until then, may we too abide to dispel the misery of the world. Que así sea, bendito sea. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen.
A story doesn't need to be true to offer spiritual truths. A story doesn't need to be factual to hold particles of the divine, glimpses of the great mystery we live within. In fact, when myth is twisted and turned into history, great damage is done. Look at what fundamentalist interpretations of Jewish, Christian, and Islamic scriptures have done to women, the LGBTQ community, and other categories of people who have been othered and devalued as human beings, because defending a dogma has become more important than a human life. The great mythologist, Joseph Campbell, knew the gifts and the dangers of the great religious myths of the world. He devoted a lifetime to teaching mythology's treasures. As Tim prepares to help us revisit the ancient myth of the Green Man in his sermon, I offer these brief words by Joseph Campbell on the power of myth. People say that what we're all seeking is a meaning for life. I don't think that's what we're really seeking. I think that what we're seeking is an experience of being alive, so that our life experiences on the purely physical plane will have resonances within our most inmost being and reality, so that we can actually feel the rapture of being alive. Myth is the homeland of this inspiration and belongs to the great treasures of mankind. Myths comprise the elementary thoughts, experiences, and ideas which have inspired and outlived societies and generations. They are the clues the spiritual potentialities of the human life. To open the treasure box of myths means to open to the existential questions that carry us through the stages of life, from birth, through maturity, through senility, to death. Myths offer a way to lead a life that is in harmony with one's nature. They are pathways to bliss. I don't know what being is, and I don't know what consciousness is, but I know what bliss is, that deep sense of being present, of doing what you absolutely must do to be yourself. If you can hang on to that, you are on the edge of the transcendent and holy. Mythology is not a lie. Mythology is poetry. It is metaphorical. It has been said that mythology is the penultimate truth. Penultimate because the ultimate cannot be put into words. It is beyond words, beyond images. Mythology pitches the mind beyond that rim, to what can be known but not told. Wherever the poetry of myth is interpreted as biography, history, or science, it is killed. The living images become only remote facts of distant time and sky. When a civilization begins to reinterpret its mythology in this way, the life goes out of it, temples become museums, and the link between the two perspectives is dissolved. To bring the images back to life, one has to seek not interesting applications to modern affairs, but illuminating hints from the inspired past. May it be so.
May it be so. Thank you, Key. So we're going to sing. You'll recognize the melody, but the words are different because as this hymn was originally written, it was written from a myth about how Earth was given to humanity for humanity's use versus humanity being blessed enough to be part of this earth. And so I invite us to rise, embody our spirit, sing Earth is living a great garden with new lyrics by yours truly.
Earth is living a great garden, green and lush and growing free. Tree of life and tree of knowledge, place for sweet discovery. Here is home for all earth creatures, born of land and sky and sea. All created in love's image, all to live in harmony. Show to us again the garden, richly filled with fresh bounty. Gently guide creation's splendor into full maturity. Teach us how to trust each other, how to use for good our power, how to touch the earth with reverence, then once more we'll Eden bless the earth, oh bless this biosphere, one creation make us whole, interwoven, all connected, planet-wide and inmost soul. Holy Mother, life bestowing, bid our waste and warfare cease, fill us all with grace so flowing, teach us how to live in peace.
Please be seated. When Luis Fernando looked out into the humid night, la noche humida, he knew something was waiting there. Something was moving in la luz de la luna, in the moonlight. Something was waiting there. Algo estaba ahí, in the dense foliage that twisted near the open window of his bedroom. The green-gray fringe of the jungle frightened Luis Fernando. But that jungle near Cartagena, Colombia, where his family lived, was also enticing, inviting. Even at 10 years old, Luis Fernando knew that sometimes his imagination could get him into trouble. Well past midnight, when Luis Fernando knew he should have been sleeping soundly, well past midnight when Luis Fernando knew he should have been dreaming of tamer things, well past midnight, Luis Fernando sat silently in his bedroom window, looking into the night, knowing that something was waiting there for him. Deeply religious, his Catholic conscience first thought that perhaps it was La Virgen Maria, the Virgin Mary, come to watch over him, as his mommy taught him she would. But Luis Fernando somehow knew in his gut that the presence out there in the jungle was much older than the Christian story. Luis Fernando knew it was más primitivo, more primitive, primal, and potent. And then, as he looked, as a bare-shanked screech owl plummeted out of the sky towards its doomed prey, the jungle seemed to take on a face, the face of a human being, a face with leaves and vines and roots growing where hair should be, the face of a person with the look of wilderness in their wet green eyes, a person with muscles strong as tree roots and skin tough as bark, a person ripe with the scent of earth and deep mystery, a person who, with their solid stillness, seemed to call for Luis Fernando to leave the safety of that open window and step into the adventure that was waiting for him out there in the night. Years later, when he had immigrated from his native Colombia to El Ciudad Nuevo York, New York City, years later, when he was trapped in a 9-to-5 cage of a job, years later, when responsibilities mapped out every moment, years later, Luis Fernando had not forgotten that mystical face in the forest. Several times a year, he'd escape the concrete heat of the street and roam for hours among the rambling paths of Central Park. He'd squat close down to earth, seeking the ripeness of that long-ago smell, touching the ground's softness, hardness, greenness, brownness, and beautiful, beautiful, dark, dark mystery. His eyes would look into tree branches, into the denseness of leaves, seeking the face that once seemed to call him towards a fiercely, frighteningly earthy adventure. Whoever or whatever Luis Fernando imagined on that childhood night, it's my hunch that we've all had a somewhat similar experience sometimes in our lives. At least once we felt that call of the wild, the lure of the dusky path, the pull of that beautiful, beautiful, dark, dark mystery, the ache for Earth's raw embrace, the sense that something untamed and necessary and not entirely human was waiting there just outside of our reach. If you've ever experienced such a thing, type an exclamation point in the comment box on our virtual campus or here in our Alluvial campus. If you've felt in some way, in some shape, the call of the wild, just give me a wave of your hand so I see. Okay, beautiful. So, some ancient people gave that yearning or that experience, some ancient people gave that call from the wild a persona, an identity. They made them like a human being. Some ancient people called it the green man. The green man. Now, I want to pause for a moment to acknowledge the binary language in calling this persona the green man. Today, if we were naming this persona for the first time and wanting to be sensitive to variations and fluidity of gender identity, we might call this persona the green one, or the green person. But this morning, forgive me, we will use the ancient, binary, mythological, and best-known name, the green man. Or, if you prefer, el hombre de verde. El hombre de verde. So, long before society tried to tame the animal impulse that lives within each of our human hearts, and we all do have that animal impulse. Long before a so-called refined religion tried to smooth off the edges of our natural drives. Long before greedy corporations taught us that the earth was something to dominate, something to plunder. Long before we lost touch with the primal pulse of life, the ancient people told stories of the green man who lived where the wild things were. Remember that story where the wild things are? It's great. That rumpus, that's the green man. The green man, a magical, mystical forest dweller. The green man who sang stormy songs and danced madly and drank deeply from the cup of life. The green man who every year in story and in ritual would be captured, bound, and sacrificed so that their own lifeblood could flow back into the earth and bring forth greenery and vegetation once more. The green man, also called Dionysus, Bacchus, Jack of the Forest, Jack in the Green, Robin Goodfellow, Shakespeare's Puck, Queen of the May, Black Sally, and see if we can name these other versions of the green man. So if you recognize it, just call it out, either here in the sanctuary on Alluvial or scream it at your screen. So who knows what this is? Who's this? Anybody? Excalibur? King Arthur. Okay, how about this? Robin Hood. Okay, yep, and later that became Johnny Appleseed. What about this one? Peter Pan, the green man. Okay, some of us remember this. The Jolly Green Giant. And who doesn't love this green man? Kermit the Frog. And the ultimate green man, Yoda. Round of applause for Yoda. All manifestations of the ancient green man. Psychologist and historian Bob Curran writes, from the earliest of times, there's been this impulse to humanize natural forces and to humanize the natural world. So think for a moment, thunder and lightning and storms rumbled across the ancient skies. These were said to be the work of some seemingly humanoid divine creature, a god or a goddess. In ancient India, this was Indra, the god of thunder and lightning. The people of the ancient world tried to personify their environment in human terms to kind of tame it. Thus, the ocean became the realm of the Nigerian Yoruba goddess Yemaya, or for the Western world, the Romans, it was Neptune, god of the sea. natural elements such as the wind, fog, fire took on human aspects. The ancient world teemed with river and mountain deities. And with this came divine personalization, and with it came a sense of separateness. Nature was somehow separate from humanity, and it could be conversed with and appealed to, prayed to, placated with sacrifice. The natural forces somehow seemed to live outside of humanity and were distinct from it. Bob Curran goes on to say, this was not always the case. The emergence of a distinct human identity set apart from the forces of the natural world probably evolved over a period of time. At one time, the early ancestors of humans must have considered themselves to be part of the natural world, existing and perceiving the world just as any other animal might. We know that originally our early ancestors were hunters who competed with other animals for food. They ate, killed, slept, and hunted largely by instinct. And when they hunted, they probably traveled in packs or groups, as some other animals did. Their consciousness was part of the natural world. Bob Curran goes on to say that evolution changed all of that. As our human brain grew together with humankind's knowledge and skills, the sense of separation from the natural world began to enter into human thinking. Previously, they had competed with other animals for food and resources, but they competed almost as equals. When it came to hunting, they probably perceived themselves as similar to the wolf and the bear with whom they fought for available meat. But now, suggests Bob Curran, the human brain began to develop the capacity to think and plan and reason and harness and tame and conquer. The notion that something lay beyond this present moment, the future, was beginning to take hold. And yet, says Curran, there remained within each evolving human being the memory of a time when we had been an equal part of the natural world. There was this stream of consciousness which lay almost dormant in the human brain and connected our ancestors with the world outside themselves in a very fundamental way. And the green man, some believe, is what sprung from this consciousness, this unconsciousness. They say that encoded in our cellular memory is the experience of someone who lives outside in the woods or forest, who lives with the land, and who is one with nature. The roots and branch and leaves and vines and thorns that grow out of the green man's mouth, ears, and limbs symbolize this. The ancient memory that we are part of the endless cycle of life is remembered in the tales of this wild one who died each autumn when the sun disappeared, only to rise anew in the green spring of when the light returns. There are reasons why the faces of the green man were carved over and over into the frames of inns and pubs, huts and houses, and even the great Catholic cathedrals of Europe, the pagan green man everywhere. The green man's face was a direct link back to the oneness of creation, to the interconnectedness of all life. The seventh principle of Unitarian Universalism is we affirm and promote respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. Our seventh principle links our present-day Unitarian Universalism back to its early earth-based origins and ancient mythologies that told stories about the finding one's spiritual power in the wilderness and through the cycles of the seasons. Now, I find this part most fascinating, and it could be just me. But later, this green man story in the ancient Semitic world in Palestine, the pagan green man was absorbed into the story of Jesus of Nazareth. In this Middle Eastern retelling of the green man's story, he's a carpenter, an earthy man who works with wood, who goes off into the wilderness for 40 days to commune with the raw power of the natural world. Connected to these primal roots, Jesus returns to civilized society to teach about the loving oneness of God and humanity. But eventually, the institutions of power nail Jesus to a tree and wrap his head with thorns and vines and leave him outside in the sun and rain and wind and cold. Jesus dies on that tree. And like the green man who was killed and then rose back to life in the spring, rumors circulated that Jesus rose to life again. Jesus was a green man for his time and place and culture. So I wonder, who is our green person for today? Where is our green person for today? And it's got to be more than the Jolly Green Giant. In our present reality, and what a reality we have right now of ongoing pandemic, racial reckoning, deep political and social divisions, vaccine naysayers, attacks on science, falsehood run amok, and increasing climate crisis. In the midst of all of this, how might we embody this ancient archetype in our personal lives? How might we embody this ancient archetype in the shared life of this church community? Might we step beyond ideas of right doing and wrong doing to rendezvous with something untamed and necessary? Could we connect to the natural wholeness that waits for us out where the wild things are? In short, what needs to die? What needs to be sacrificed? What do we need to let go of so a more natural life and holistic balance can rise up green once more? D.H. Lawrence writes, "When we get out of the glass bottles of our ego, and when we escape like the squirrels turning in the cages of our personality and get out into the forest again, we will shiver with cold and fright, but things will happen to us so that we know ourselves anew. Cool, undying life will rush in, and passion will make our bodies taut with power. We shall stamp our feet with new power, and old things will fall down, and institutions will curl up like burnt paper." I just like that image. Institutions curling up like burnt paper. Goodbye, white supremacy culture. Unitarian Universalist composer Carolyn McDade knows what we can recover when we walk on this wild side in this time of great turning. She declares, "Our humanness, our rhythms and dreams, the faith which nurtures our ardent love and hope for life, all this we share with the earth community, of which we are natural and connected beings." All this we share with the earth community, natural and connected. This is the greater allegiance the green man calls us to embody. As poet Donald Justice proclaims, our remote ancestors said to their Mother Earth, "We are yours." Modern humanity has said to nature, "You are mine." The green man has returned as the living face of the whole earth, so that through his mouth we may say to the universe, "We are one." Somos unos. We are one. Would you say that? We are one. We are one. One more time, nice and loud. We are one. Que así sea, bendito sea. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen and amen.
My blood doth rise in the roots of yon oak. Her sap doth run in my veins. Boundless my soul, like the open sky, where the stars forever have lain. Where the stars, where the stars, where the stars forever have lain. My hands hold the weavings like time without end. My sight as deep as the sea. Beating my heart sounds the measures of old, that of love's eternity. That of love, that of love, that of love's eternity. I feel the tides as they enter the moon, rushing on a far distant sand. Winging my song is the wind of my breast, and the love blows over the land. And my love, and my love, and my love blows over the land. My foot carries days of the old into new. Our dreaming shows us the way. Wondrous our faith settles deep in the earth, rising green to bring a new day. Rising green, rising green, rising green to bring a new day.
Hello again, my name is Key, and welcome back into my home. If you find these Sunday services meaningful, if you like the message and the mission of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno, to love inclusively, grow spiritually, serve gratefully, and work for justice, then we need you to show it. As Tim often says, church is not a spectator sport. The way we turn this church from a place we visit into a place that we belong is to serve, in some way, gratefully. We create and sustain this church together. Over the last few years, I've shared my time and my talent with this church because this place matters to me, and what we create here matters to me. And so, I've shared my voice and become part of the worship services. I've written and sometimes read some of my reflections during the service. I share my love of making music by playing drums with Lorenzo. I used to lead the youth group back before COVID, and I even attended the National General Assembly in Spokane, Washington. So I ask you, in what way, possibly even in the smallest way, can you offer this congregation something? Could you serve as a Sunday greeter at our Alluvial Avenue campus? Could you serve as a Facebook or YouTube host on our virtual camp campus? We need people to be able to welcome people into the virtual chat rooms. Could you join the environmental justice team or the family fun events team? Could you join our newly forming growth through service team? I'll meet one-on-one with new members and friends to get to know what drove them here and how you might match their hopes with what this congregation can offer them. Can you volunteer to set up chairs on our Alluvial Avenue campus or send a friendly note to one of our vulnerable elders who attend services from the safety of our virtual campus? Our congregation is one in many places. But serving gratefully isn't just about giving back to this church that feeds our spiritual lives. We get so much by serving gratefully. I get so much by serving gratefully. And in doing so, this place went from being a place that I visited into a place that I belong. I want you to experience that as well. So you can use your imagination and think of how you can share even just a few minutes of your time and grow more connected to this community. Talk to Patty Bennett, our coordinator of community life, and she'll have some ideas. That's why she's here. Just email her at msc@uufresno.org. That is msc@uufresno.org. So yes, we do appreciate your financial support as you are able. We need that to keep our in-person and our virtual doors open. But think about how might you serve gratefully in a way that works for you so that you'll receive the gifts that flow back to you. Will you join me in our congregational response? If not us, then who? If not open hearts, then what? If not now, then where? If not here, then where? If not generously, then how? If not us, then who? Here is how you can make a financial contribution. Or if you are on the Alluvial Avenue campus, you can always drop cash into the basket on your way out of the sanctuary. Thank you in advance for saying yes. May this church continue to be worthy of the many forms of your gifts. Hello, yet again, it's me, Keith. Tim wanted to give me as much face time as possible, so this is my last service with you. As I prepare to leave Fresno for UCLA and my new life beyond the walls of the sanctuary and the city, I offer you these words of blessings from Unitarian Universalist Tom Shade. My friends, there is a power at work in this universe. It works through human hands, but it was not made by human hands. It is a creative, transforming, and sustaining power, and we can trust that power with our lives. It will sustain us whenever we take a side with love, whenever we take a stand for peace and justice, whenever we take a risk for something good or kind. Trust in that power. We are together held by that power, always and forever. Let's now join Karen and Troy in our Chalice extinguishing words.
Extinguimos esta llama, pero no la luz de la verdad, el calor de comunidad o el fuego de nuestro compromiso. Estos los llevaremos en el corazón. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts.
Thank you so much for letting me be part of this church community for these last few years. It was amazing being part of the youth group, serving you at First Sunday lunches, playing drums with our house band Stolen Thunder, and helping Tim with worship services. It has been great having this church be my spiritual home. Thank you for giving me that gift and introducing me to Unitarian Universalism. Please stay safe until we meet again. Bye-bye.
Let's give it up for Key. And Key is just one of the amazing young people who have grown up in this church community, and we have some amazing young people out in the heat having fun who will also grow up to become the next generation of Unitarian Universalists. Before I offer my closing words, and then we have our sung benediction, quick reminders. First, when we exit today, we are going to exit, and I think we should have an exit slide come up. Yeah, there we go. We're going to exit through the side doors. So where Andrew is there, everybody wave to Andrew, that's where you're going to want to exit so that we have a safe traffic flow. Unless for mobility, that would just be a long hike for you. You get to go out the front doors, but everybody else this way, please. For those of you who brought your kiddos with you today and are participating in our program with Eva and Chloe and Desmond, we ask that you pick up the kiddos at the religious exploration table in the breezeway where you sign them in. Pick them up there, please. Don't go into the back. Again, we're just trying to keep our kids safe. Next week is a beloved ritual of Unitarian Universalism. It is our water communion and our blessing of the backpacks. So for those of us who have no idea what a water communion is, I can say it's awesome. It's next week. If you remember, bring a little bit of water in like a little bottle with you. It can be from the backyard hose. It can be from the San Joaquin River, but just a drop because we know there's a drought. Bring water with you to the service, and we're going to have a mingling of our waters. If you forget water next week, we always have extra for most of us because most of us do forget. And then the blessing of the backpacks. If you have a kiddo either here on our virtual campus, send them to us or bring them to the virtual campus. With that backpack, we'll be doing a blessing of the backpacks outside here on the side, and we'll have extras for folks who forget to bring them. So I think that is everything. So oh, no, it isn't everything. We do have a tradition that we like to welcome folks who are here for the first, second, or third time. We do it not to embarrass you, I promise. It's just we're really glad you were here. You could have been anywhere this morning. You chose to be here with us. So if this is your first, second, or third time, would you rise for just a moment? We won't leave you standing by yourself for long, I promise. Welcome, welcome, woohoo! Welcome, 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 welcome. This is so cool. I invite the rest of us to rise with them. Our closing words and then our sung benediction. Go now in peace. May you leave this place knowing you are good and knowing you are loved. Take your love from this place, share it with the world. Stay safe until we meet again. And may the longtime sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and that pure light that is within you guide your way on. Blessed be. Amen.
May we have safe passage. Safe passage. May we have safe passage. Safe passage on our way. Safe passage on your way, wanderer. Safe passage on your way, searcher. Safe passage on your way, sweet pilgrim. Safe passage on our way. May we have safe passage. Safe passage. May we have safe passage. safe passage on our way.
Shalom,
Shalom
and
and
assalamu
assalamu
alaikum.